Hi class, welcome to week 12 of BUAD 201. This week during week 12 we're going to do a few different things. We're going to discuss the content needed to write a sales message, and that's going to be your next message you're going to need to write. We're also going to be discussing how the sales message interacts with a persuasive message, because remember, a persuasive message and the sales message are both discussed in chapter 10. They kind of go hand in hand, but we'll get into a little bit more detail once we lecture today. So again, the second part of chapter 10 discusses what you need to know in order to write a sales message. In addition, you will review videos discussing how to present for your business presentation with your group. And finally, we will review your executive summary assignment. So your tasks to complete this week are to watch the weekly class video lecture, read chapter 10 and 14 in your textbook. But remember, this chapter 10 is only the second part that discusses sales messages, because we already discussed the first part of persuasive messages. In addition, complete your chapter 14 Mind Tap homework. Watch the Speaks videos and the Speaks Guide to Oral Presentation videos, which is right here. Word document under the file is attachments for this week. You're just going to click on this and it will open up, and I'll show you once we get to that. In addition, you're going to complete the executive summary assignment, and that's due Sunday, November 26th by 11:55 p.m. So you have a couple weeks to complete that. And again, meet with your groups if possible to work on the group project. So first, let's take a look at chapter 10, the second part of it of your textbook. The good news is you won't have to worry about completing a weekly activity this week, since it's only half of a chapter. I figured this is probably the best route to go. This way you can go back and you can review other parts of chapter 10. So there's no activity to complete this week. Activities are included for practice only. So there are activities in this PowerPoint. Please feel free to go ahead and complete them if you would like, but you do not have to turn them in. So let's talk about creating effective sales messages. So sales messages use persuasion to promote specific products and services. It's always good to have a good foundation for how to sell something, whether it's a product or a service, because this lets you understand the concepts of using persuasion. What things do I need to discuss in order to sell this product? All audiences aren't going to be the same. If you go from one audience to another audience, you're probably going to have a different background or different ideas of these people. So it's very important to have a good solid foundation on how to write a sales message, which we're going to be discussing today. So I want to watch a few different commercials that kind of highlight different sales messages and how they use their sales message. Is it something that's serious, something that they use comedy in, just to kind of give you an idea of what it discusses and what it sells. So let's go ahead and watch this Volvo commercial first. So go ahead and click on the link here, Volvo commercial, and go ahead and watch the commercial. And once you're done watching it, go ahead and resume this video. So go ahead and pause it, watch the commercial. Once you're done, go ahead and resume the video. Okay, now that you've watched this Volvo commercial, you can kind of see what they did to show how dynamic their steering is for their Volvo trucks. They can go in reverse with someone doing the splits on the trucks, and it's as smooth as, whatever you want it to be as. So it's a good way of showing how they sell their product. They use an actual example, an actual footage of a real product in order to sell it. So pretty persuasive. I added this parody in here. It's just a funny parody of this Volvo commercial you just saw. So go ahead and click on it, watch it. You'll get a good laugh out of it. It's with Chuck Norris. For those of you who aren't familiar with Chuck Norris, he's someone who can do whatever you can do, but even 10 times better. So go ahead and watch the parody video. Okay, now that you've watched the parody video, you can see how it uses a sense of humor to, take that Volvo commercial and turn it into a parody. Next, let's go ahead and switch gears here. I want to watch the VW texting commercial. This is more of a serious message that Volkswagen uses in order to sell their product. They use, real life issues, and they connect it with people in order to have a good understanding of how important their message is, which kind of helps sell their product of being safe. So go ahead and watch the VW texting commercial, and go ahead and pause the video and then resume it once you're done. So now that you've watched that Volkswagen texting commercial, you can see how Volkswagen used a serious message here in order to connect with their clients. This way they can show that, hey, we have a serious issue and we think it's important you pay attention while driving. So please don't text, and that's something that they're using to persuade their audience to purchase their vehicles. And finally, Career Builder. This is more of a funny sales message, but it is a little bit older of a commercial. I don't think they had HD at this point, but it was a Super Bowl commercial that aired. At least I believe it was a Super Bowl commercial. But Career Builder, they used a funny sense of humor-ish kind of way in order to sell their message to show persuasion of how it is working in the office. And hey, you know what? Are you looking for a new job? Come look with us. So go ahead and watch this video and pause this lecture. Now that you've clicked on the link and watched the video, you can see how they used humor in order to sell their product. So I want to talk about applying the 3x3 writing process in a sales message. So first, what's important, you want to analyze a product and purpose for writing it, especially for a sales message. A lot more goes into this. Study the item carefully, get to know it, understand what this item is that you're selling or service. It's important that you know it inside and out and have a good idea of understanding what it is. That way you can use your full potential in order to sell the product. What you can learn about it. Are there certain things you can learn about the item that you may not know already, or the service that you're providing? What is something that you can add in there in order to help persuade the person to purchase this? Consider additional factors. Does your item come with a warranty? Is it, very durable? What are some things that you can discuss to help sell this message? Use persuasion. This is why we first did persuasive messages, and now we're looking at sales messages. You need to use persuasion in your sales messages. You're going to use that AIDA strategy, talking about how are you going to gain their attention in a sales message. Then going into interest, and then desire, and then what kind of action are you going to provide? So remember, the AIDA strategy is extremely important in persuasive messages and in sales messages. Identify your central selling point. What's the main theme? What is it that you're trying to sell? Understanding this is extremely important. And determine specific purpose of your message. What is it you want the audience to do? Do you want them to call for a free video or brochure, sign up for emails, listen to a podcast? What is it you need them to do? So keep that in mind. So crafting successful sales letters, powerful means to make sales, generate leads, boost retail traffic, and direct customers to websites. These are things you want to keep in mind and to consider when you are writing a sales message. What is it that you're trying to do? Writing sales messages will help you be more successful when communicating with persuasion. How are you using persuasion in order to sell your message? Now, next bullet point, which I have highlighted in red because it's very important, the primary goal in the sales letter is to get someone to devote a few moments of attention to it. If you can get them to devote attention, you're going to be able to hook them in because you're going to use persuasion in order for them to continue listening. And of course, the most effective messages will follow the AIDA strategy, and they'll gain attention, they'll build interest, they'll elicit desire and reduce constraint, and then motivate action. So that's something I'm going to be looking for when we do write your sales message in a few weeks. We still have a little bit more time. So here's a class activity I'd like you to complete. This isn't something you have to turn in. This is really for your own practice. It's extremely important to gain attention in the sales message. Remember, going back to this red bullet point here, get someone to devote a few moments of attention to it is the primary goal. So it's extremely important to gain attention in the sales message. One of the most critical elements of the sales message is its opening paragraph. This opener should be short, maybe 1 to 5 lines, honest, relevant, and stimulating. You want to stimulate the mind of your audience in order for them to continue to read. So for your activity, I want you to pick 2 of the bullet points on page 347 of your textbook, but in your electronic book, it's going to be gaining attention in sales messages of your textbook, and write a sales message for the Apple iPhone 7 for each one you chose. So if you want, you can write it for the Apple iPhone 8 now that the new one has come out. I'm just not sure if too many people will know what the iPhone 8 consists of, which is why I only have iPhone 7. Go ahead and practice. Make sure you read through this entire chapter so you have a good understanding of what is required for a sales message. So building interest with rational and emotional appeals. So you want to build interest in the sales message because this interest is what's going to gain them to have a desire to purchase the item. So describe clearly the product or service. Emphasize essential selling points that you identified during your pre-writing analysis. You have rational appeals and emotional appeals. So rational appeals use reason and intellect, whereas emotional appeals use status, ego, and sensual feelings. So translate selling points into references. Maybe it's an expensive product or it's something that's important to health. This is a rational appeal. Whereas an emotion appeal is going to be more something more for status, ego, and sensual feelings. It might be an inexpensive product or something that's short-lived. So for your class activity 2, read the sales letter. It's figure 10.11 under Health Select Sales Letter, or it's on page 351 of your textbook if you have a hard copy. Make sure to understand each part of the ADA strategy as you go. This is an important strategy you must remember to use for a sales message. So your activity, choose one of the 4 parts of the ADA strategy in the sales letter and discuss the following. Why you think the writer does a good job in relating to this part of the ADA strategy in this letter, and how did the writer relate to the reader using this part of the ADA strategy. And again, this isn't something you have to turn in. It only needs to be about 2 to 3 sentences long for each answer. So go ahead and keep that in mind. So what I'd like to do now is to go over the Speaks Guide to Oral Presentation videos for you. Please make sure to review this and all the videos associated in this Word document. Remember, Speaks, S-P-E-A-K-S, is what you are graded on for your oral presentation. And at the top of Titanium, you're going to see here the Speaks grading rubric, which we went over during the first week or two of our class. Make sure to go over it so you see what you're going to be graded on when you turn in your video. So here's the oral presentation skills online module. Here are videos that support different types of speak. So here's structure, personal appearance videos, eye contact, articulation, kinetic, slides. So once you click on it, a new link will open up and it will connect you to Cal State Fullerton. And you're gonna
Welcome to the Speaks Guide to Oral Presentation.
You're gonna see how it's gonna be
this
a video
episode
here.
will cover the structure.
So make sure to watch these videos, which are going to be reflective on how you're going to be graded for your oral communication grading for your group project assignment that you're going to be completing. Finally, today I want to talk about your executive summary assignment. Your executive summary assignment is going to be due on Sunday, November 26th. That is, I gave you guys an extra week in the syllabus to complete this. Before it was going to be due on the 19th, which is the Sunday before Thanksgiving, but I went ahead and I extended it out. That way, if you want to work on it during Thanksgiving, you can. I've given you this option during that week to work on it because I know other classes don't really give assignments during Thanksgiving, so I figured I would extend this executive summary assignment out a week and have it due on November 26th. That way, if you want, you can work on it during Thanksgiving. So let's go ahead and take a look at the executive summary assignment. Oh, before we do look at this, let's look at the tips on writing an executive summary. And so Word document I uploaded for you, just to kind of give you a good idea about an executive summary, even though we did talk about executive summaries last week. So remember, here's the contents of a summary, what you need, the purpose, the essential points, the conclusion, results, and leave out your opinion, examples, background, any kind of jargon. Remember, an executive summary is to the point. It gives a person an idea of what the report is going to be about. Talking about my example from last week, when I worked at a .com and I was the marketing manager, I would have to make a advertising and marketing budget project proposal, and it can be anywhere from 20 to 100 pages, but I would have an executive summary at the front, and the owner of the company, the CEO, would only read that executive summary page to see what we were doing for marketing and advertising. So that page is going to give them an idea of what your report is about. So make sure to review all this. This is the process of the executive summary that we discussed last week, and let's look at your executive summary assignment that is going to be due on Sunday, November 26th. So this is worth 50 points. As a business student, review the Cal State Fullerton Library database system and select a business journal, such as Journal of Management. That's just an example. But I want you to use the Cal State Fullerton Library database system. Searching the databases for an article using ProQuest or EBSCOhost or any other choice, select an article related to a business topic you may be interested in. You can even use Google Scholar. For those of you who are not familiar with Google Scholar, let's go ahead and give you a quick background on what you can do with Google Scholar. It's almost like using a library database, but it's Google, but more for scholarly articles. So let's say I wanted to search for let's say for an article that had to do with social media and business. All these articles and publications come up on social media for business. So you could click on it and then it will give you all the information for this article, and you can use this as well. So you don't have to use a Cal State Fullerton Library database, but it's probably going to be your best bet because you can have access to all the articles. The article must be at least 5 pages long and a subject of interest that you prefer. And you're just going to complete an executive summary on this article. So you're not going to turn in this article you find. I'm going to take your word for it that it's over 5 pages long, but the more information you have on an article, the easier it is to write an executive summary. Because when you have a lot of information, you can pick and choose what you want to write about. Whereas if you find an article that's 1 or 2 pages long, it's going to be difficult to write an executive summary, not having enough information is needed. So make sure in your executive summary to identify the author, the article title, and journal and date of publication. Give an explanation what the author intended to do in the study of article. Summarize 3 or 4 of the most important findings of the study or article, and summarize any recommendations made, and include a conclusion statement. So you're going to write an executive summary, making sure to have this information here. So your purpose: to understand the purpose and structure of an executive summary, to be able to analyze and interpret and summarize relevant information in a formal report, and to develop writing skills necessary in a formal report. So your outcome measures: students will assume the role of an assistant or an executive or manager and be able to provide summarizations of formal reports. You're going to learn how to analyze, interpret, and summarize formal reports to their direct supervisor in concise and tactical executive summary. So guidelines: your executive summary may not exceed 1 page. Keep it 1 page maximum. You do not have to turn in your article that you chose to write it on. Executive summaries are standalone reports. They should make complete sense without reference to any outside source. Executive summaries do not contain quotations, references, or examples. They merely present the key concepts of the argument made in the original source. They must be flawless. They impress the reader by presenting no visual or conceptual barriers in the document. Remember, use your own words. Do not copy text from the article. Do not write a memo or letter. So all you're going to do is center a heading at the top, title it Executive Summary. Let's go ahead and do this now so you can kind of get an idea of what I want it to look like. So center a heading at the top, Executive Summary. So all you're going to do, center Executive. And then in the left or right top margin, type in your name and date. So I'm going to type in Bobby Pulius. Today's date is November 6, 2017. And I'm going to start my executive summary. So use 1-inch margins in size 11 or 12 font. Single space it, leave 1 blank line between paragraphs. And make sure to spell check and write in third person. Remember, you're going to be graded on the class criteria, which is CLASS. So make sure you have a good understanding of our class rubric that we went over as well too. So remember, you're going to need to identify the author, article title, journal, etc. So let's say, for this executive summary, I'm going to start an opening paragraph here. Opening paragraph discussing the author, article title, journal it was pulled from, and date of publication. So it may look something like this in your first paragraph. Let's just say this is your first paragraph here. Then you're going to skip a line, and then you're going to write, give an explanation on what the author intended to do in the study or article. So maybe here you can make a title. It does not have to be this. Author's intention. And then you would discuss under here the author's intention. And remember, you're writing in third person. Or maybe you wanted to call it, rather than author's intention, you can say background of article. Whatever you want it to do, you can be creative. And then in this paragraph, you're going to discuss the author's intention of the publication. So this will look like something like this. And then summarize 3 or 4 of the most important findings of the study or article. So let's say I did mine on social media and business. So the first point I'm going to talk about is literally social media and business. And that would be the first title. And that will be a paragraph long. Then the second title will be maybe another item that was discussed in the article was, let's see, paying for social media advertisements. And then you would have your second title paragraph here. Oops, look at that, even we all misspell words. So this would be a title, this would be another title, and then maybe a third point you found was social media increases business branding. That was another point. So third title paragraph. So this would be about a paragraph, you discuss it there. Then you have your third title here, and you discuss it there, and then you would have your conclusion statement as well. Oops. And this would be, this would be conclusion statement written here. So maybe paying for social media advertisements under this point, they talk about, let's say, 3 main important points on why you should pay for social media advertising. Why you pay for social media advertising. And then you would discuss the points here. So first point, second point. Maybe there's 2 points they discuss. So you discuss the first point and then the second point. So this is kind of what your executive summary is going to look like. You're going to open up with discussing the author, article title, journal, and date of publication. It probably won't even be this long. It will probably mostly be about 2 to 3 sentences long. Then talk about the background of the article, and you're going to talk about 3 points that the article discusses. You could do 4 as well, and then have your conclusion statement at the end, and this will be anywhere from 2 to 5 sentences as well. So that's kind of what your executive summary is going to look like, and that's what you're going to need to turn in by November 26th. So go ahead and get started for this week. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You do have your Chapter 14 Mind Tap homework due at the end of this week. That's the only thing that's going to be due this week. So make sure to complete your Chapter 14 Mind Tap homework. And if you have any questions, again, all my contact information is up here. Feel free to call me, text me. Any time of the day is fine, really, even if it's at 11 at night. Trust me, my phone is on silent at night. I will get to it first thing in the morning and respond back to you. I wish you guys all the best of luck, and please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions whatsoever.